G'day and welcome back to another exciting episode of Spitting Bricks with Jono. I have a special guest here today. I have the brickmaster Matanga Periki himself, Robin Sather from Canada. Welcome, Robin. How are you?
Jono, I'm good. I'm fantastic. How are you?
It's good to see you, mate. It's been a while.
You too. It has been a while, but it's been great to keep in touch a little bit, and I'm excited to be on the show.
It's exciting to have you here. I've actually want to talk about some of your builds that you do, but first we'll get to that later. I've got to ask the ultimate question though. So, how did you start getting into Lego? What was your first set?
I was, as far as I can recollect, and my family and stuff, I was about 4 years old. So our family was dirt poor. I didn't have a new Lego set until I was about 7 or 8. So it was all flea market, op shop Lego, chewed up, mixed in with army guys and pennies and plasticine and the usual used stuff. So that was my original stuff, and it was the first little batch I got was in a little 500-gram plastic honey container from a secondhand store. And then my first set was I can't remember the number, but it was a used one, but it was still a set. And it was a police station. This is back in the 70s. Blue police station with a black and white helicopter and a little police car. It was pre-minifig. There's no minifigs in this one.
Wow.
The first boxed new set I got was, I think, probably, it was quite a while later actually, but it was a little truck with a flatbed, and it had a yellow crane on it, and it was the ones that had a little steering knob on the top of the cab of the truck, and you could steer the wheels. Yeah, and that was the first one. That was my set, opened up and in the box and everything. And I had the most memorable story about that set is I had a neighbor kid who was a couple years younger than me, not really a friend, but he was this kid that would come over and stuff. And he came, and I showed him my set, and he took that, I think it was probably a 6x14, 6x16 plate. He grabbed that piece and just snapped it in half right in front of me.
No.
I was devastated.
Did you hit him?
No, I didn't. I probably just cried, and my mom told him to go home, probably is what happened. I glued it together. I still have that plate. Crazy glue was a good thing. But yeah, I was devastated. That was my first set. And anyway, and it just never went, it never stopped. So I've never had a year since then where I haven't had Lego for birthdays and Christmas all along.
So you've never had a dark ages?
I didn't really have a dark age. I had what I would say a dim age, that it kind of just dipped. I mean, I was in, say from 14 to 18, 19. Again,
Girls.
Pre-internet, I literally thought I was one of, maybe a dozen people in the world that were crazy Lego adults. So, and I wasn't really an adult yet. I was a teenager, and it was all about girls and cars and motorbikes and things, right? So it all kind of went away. But I had it there. I would build things out occasionally on a Sunday afternoon, or I had my tub of bricks. So it never really ended. And on Christmas and birthdays, I'd still get Lego sets.
Excellent.
Yeah, and then when I got a little older, you figure yourself out a bit more, and you start bringing it out and celebrating it a bit. So, yeah, that's kind of how it kicked in.
Okay, so what was your experience like on LEGO Masters?
Amazing. I mean, the LEGO Masters experience was probably the hardest I've ever worked, even starting with pre-production here in Canada, and then coming down and starting pre-production there. And I was involved in almost every aspect of the show to some degree. Everything from, of course, challenge design and testing, casting, set design, art department stuff. Of course, I was kind of the Lego person on hand. A lot of other productions worldwide, they'll have somebody from within Lego with the LEGO Masters department will be actually on set, and they're sort of make sure everything's following the trademarking rules and checking challenges and all that sort of stuff. I was basically that person doing that there as well. We had a person, her name was Sisa, and she had a live feed to the show and had everybody on speed dial and stuff, even before production and stuff. But it was, it's terrible timing. It's middle of the night for her. So it just didn't work. So I ended up being the one that was kind of on call for that. So it was long time and long days, but amazing. I mean, the Kiwi people, the crews were just incredible. I was amazed at how much the Kiwi crews could do with the resources that were available. I know the budget is a fraction of what the Aussie budget is or the American budget, but the show doesn't show that. The show is top notch. The quality is there. Of course, you guys as contestants were absolutely brilliant. So we were blown away. My wife came with me, Diane came with me, and we just fell in love with the country. We fell in love with the people, and working with that crew, the production company was amazing. TVNZ was amazing. So it was an absolute highlight to the extent that we stayed after 7 months of production and pre-production and media and stuff. We stayed the extra 4 months to just enjoy the country and tour around, and came and saw you and went to a couple of brick shows and rented a camper van and toured around. It was just incredible. So
had a full-on Kiwi experience, didn't you?
100%.
Yeah, excellent. So what's your approach to starting a new Lego build? Do you pull out a sketchbook? Do you pick up some bricks? Do you do it digitally?
It depends on what's happening with it. So for me, it depends on, is this a build for me, or is it a build for a client? Is it a live event? Is it a commission? Is it for an exhibit? Is it a kit? I mean, all of these things have a factor. But I generally, if I had to out of the box not know anything, I would want to grab bricks and just start noodling. That's the favorite thing. Just get bricks happening. To an extent, I'm comfortable doing that with Studio now as well. So just grabbing pieces that I think may work and just throwing them on the page and then just grabbing them and putting them together.
It's a good idea.
So I often will do that. But if I have my druthers, it's give me a pile of bricks and I'll start noodling. Usually there's an idea, like there's some little connection thing for the wheels or wings of a plane, or the eye of a character you're doing, or something, and you can kind of start and then you kind of expand from there. And usually that will give you other ideas as you go. So I kind of do it that way.
Perfect. Okay, can you describe a build? I mean, it must be different behind the scenes, but was there a particular challenge that you found particularly challenging whilst building for LEGO Masters? And then, how did you overcome it? Because, I mean, you tested all the challenges before we got a chance to do them, did you not?
Yeah, all the ones that you could test. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had great fun testing the bridge challenge because, of course, it had to be Kiwi, which meant it had to be a bungee jumping challenge. So we had to figure out, we had lots of testing. We actually built 3 or 4 bridges and tested them with how the mechanism would work. We have videos of the bridges. We're testing them and have a little release mechanism, and the weights just fall onto so they don't really do the thing. So we literally had to work out with each individual weight what bungee would make it bounce, but not hit the bottom and not come up and hit the top. So we'd get a little bit of movement. And so, I mean, it was great. The way it worked out was fantastic. And all the things we did, like not attaching the bridges to the pillars, making them narrow, all that stuff came out of testing, because we realized if you jar a bridge, the whole mechanism, the whole thing started to come apart. And if we glued it, it just would have started breaking. So we thought, you know what, let's make it not attached, and then we don't have to worry about it. So the max we got up to on testing, we got with a bridge that was, a long time building, and we used a lot of the techniques that often people use, side studding plates and Technic cross membering and stuff like that. We did a multiple testing, just like we did on the show, and the ultimate was 44 kilos. So that's more than anyone did on the show.
Like double than anybody did on the show.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were confident. That's why when we could structure our weights, we were confident that no one's going to get to that. And it was funny watching all the bridges. Each one of you had an aspect of strength that definitely gave you strength. But we thought in the background, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, there's a chance if they all look at each other and adopt all the different techniques together into one bridge, we might break our record. So we were prepared for it. But I mean, Emily and Sarah used these Technic loops, basically like almost reinforcing rings.
Yes.
Everything else about the bridge was quite weak, but those things were incredibly strong. So if you guys had used those as well,
we'd done that. Yeah.
It would have been amazing, right? So that would have been another level of strength.
Oh, but
and then
you
of course
only win the challenge once, though, eh?
That's true. Yes, still won, right? Andrew and Georgie with their peak,
Yeah,
and watching
that was
that
a
thing, I
cool
thought, wow,
design.
if that holds true,
Andrew's
we might,
engineering brain. I loved it.
yeah.
I love
And
watching Andrew's brain work. It was great.
but we got lucky in the sense on production that one because it's not connected, and so
Mm,
the jarring and the flexing actually popped it
bouncy.
right out of the way
That was
that the failures happened was so good on that challenge, and that's because
cool.
we had tried it, we had figured it out, and
Now, if
other
I
ones
remember
we did the
rightly,
same.
one of the favorite words that you had on the show was smashiness. Because
Smashiness.
I love the glee in your eyes whenever something gets destroyed. You have a
You
habit
know,
of destroying things out of Lego, don't
well,
you?
I do. People love to see big Duplo creations get smashed, and so
Yes, they do.
definitely we have done a bit of that in the builds that I've done. They make a wonder. Duplo bricks are like a little bell. Everyone's like a little bell. They're so loud. So if you smash a giant Easter bunny or a locomotive onto the floor, you get this ringing cacophony of Lego sound, and it's wonderful. And
Fantastic.
people say, well, how could you possibly destroy it? How could you do that? You spent all this time and you're going to wreck all these bricks. The thing that's amazing is, even with, say, the locomotive that we pushed off the table, there was 3 bricks, maybe 4. I think it was maybe 4 bricks that were actually damaged. That's it.
Wow.
So somehow in this weird Lego physics, all of the stress and the tension gets focused onto 3 or 4 bricks, and those bricks might actually shear and break. Everything else, you couldn't even tell it was in a smash. So it's worth 4 bricks. A smash is worth 4 bricks.
Yeah, and it is something very satisfying. And the other thing, I think the producer of the show came down just before we were about to do the bungee challenge, and he said, "Aren't you disappointed? Like, because this train is beautiful, it's going to be destroyed." I said, "Yeah, but you're getting the art because the art is the capturing. This is a sandcastle. Lego's like building sandcastles at the beach. It's just going to get washed away, but you've got the picture of it, which is the main thing, right?"
100%. That's how I approach pretty much all my builds and events. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you can't get attached to them, otherwise you run out of bricks.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I do keep some things from some builds. I have a sort of a rogues gallery of a horse's head, a princess's head, and a parrot's head, and a bear's head, and all these different heads busts from various builds I've done. But
very cool.
Yeah, I can't keep them all.
Have you got them up on the wall like a series of trophies?
I've got them on a shelf. Yeah, so they're all lined up. Yeah.
Cool. So, what was the most memorable moment for you during the filming of LEGO Masters?
There were so many. I mean, there really were so many. I am wearing my punamu that you actually presented to Di and I, each of ours, and that was a special moment. I mean, completely unexpected, and I think it was after episode 2, something like that.
Yeah, well, I remember episode 2 steering around the room and seeing, like, I think there were 12 of us. I think 9 of us in the cast had punamu. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I looked over at you guys, and neither of you had them.
Yeah.
And so I went into the green room, and I said to the guys, I was like, hey, should we chip in and get the guys punamu? And it was actually Les that ran down and did the purchasing while we were filming, and then brought it back, and then I presented it to you guys. That was really
how great was the crew, right? I mean,
amazing, really,
just like unbelievable. But that was an amazing moment.
I think they all loved Lego.
They did, 100%. And as you know, maybe you didn't ever see it, but you would have seen it. The little stepping out and getting the snacks and water offset. The crew was constantly working and enhancing a version of the set right there beside there, and so they just came up with that, started working on that, which was really cool. And then, of course, through the run of the shoots, Di, essentially started out as a dad who had, kids, and he's buying Lego for his kids, and they would play with it. Then he started playing with them and building. Then he actually brought a Technic truck to set, and he'd be working on it, between being on set towards the end of it. He actually was planning a mock. He was going to plan to build. Wow. I don't know if he ever followed through, but he was going to build the comedy club in Auckland, where he kind of got his start and his feet wet, including the dressing rooms and the corridors and everything. He's showing me and planning it all out. And I thought, wow, what a journey from Lego dad to mock builder in the space of a few months. So,
well, I think the thing is, being on set like that, it's pretty addictive. I mean, I remember coming away from there going, wow, I'm not as good at some of those builders. I've got some things to learn still. Yeah, you can't help but be inspired by just seeing some of the amazing art that comes out of that show.
100%. And I often tell people I would have a hard time being a contestant on the show. Building under pressure is not something I'm a huge fan of. I was amazed at you guys, how you could rally. And of course there were moments, but my goodness, you guys really learned how to quickly channel the creativity and get it into productivity, get it into building, and not just get stuck in the
Yeah. I think it's quite like my background. I had done some waiting and some sales work and stuff like that. So, and I was talking to a couple of other Lego Masters, Zach from season 2 in America, who was a sushi chef, and of course Manny, who's a barber.
Yeah.
I think people that have had the experience of doing creative or fine work in front of an audience would have an advantage. Because there's something about, I mean, building Lego is one thing, but building Lego with all those cameras, and then all it takes is one noise, and all the cameras just go, whoosh,
yep,
and it's just, what have I done? It's
exactly.
very, very unnerving. But
yeah,
I think that the time pressure, like, it was good and bad. I really liked. Like at home, there's I've got about half a dozen builds here that aren't finished, and I've started them, and I didn't have a deadline, so they didn't get finished, and they will eventually. But on Lego Masters, at least you had to walk away when the time was up, and so I remember Dan and I just started off casually, and then getting closer and closer, and just building right towards the end.
100%. Yeah, you guys and different teams were different, right? So Andrew and Georgie, for example, were really productive at the beginning, and then they would kind of tail off. They would just kind of coast and tail off for the past little bit, whereas others were all of that last hour or two was incredible amount of building that got done. So this is just how different creative minds work. It's really fascinating.
So do you have any tips for people? Well, I mean, you said you couldn't be a contestant yourself, but what kind of things did you notice that the contestants would do to help manage themselves in that situation?
Well, I think the number one thing, and you guys finally figured this out, is listen to the judge.
Huh?
That's number one. Listen to exactly. Yeah. Even if the idea is something you don't agree with, this is the person that's going to judge your build. So if they say, what about this? Or have you thought about this? That's probably something you should pay attention to. But the other thing is, don't,
yes and no. You were trying to argue with me that I shouldn't put a face on the man of the chair at one point, I remember. And I don't know, it looked pretty good with a face on it.
Yeah, 100% it did. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that tear would have been dripping off a nose if there wasn't a nose there.
Well, that's true. The tear was brilliant. But that's the thing is you do have to know when to listen and when not to listen. Yeah. But in general, if you're arguing with the host or the judge,
it's not a good idea to argue with the judge.
On the wrong track. The other thing is the phrase I use is don't have a meeting with yourself. So get building. Put bricks in your hands and make them go together. Even if you haven't figured out the idea, start building, because your brain will make the building happen. Your ideas will come out of your fingers, and it's really difficult to, when you're building on your own in your own little studio or whatever at home, you can afford to do that. You can put it down, you can leave it and let it sit in the back of your head. But when you're on Lego Masters, you don't have that time. So you've got to get bricks happening, and things will happen quicker. So those are that's a major thing that you see happening when people kind of get stuck. Build anything. Just put bricks together, even if it's not related. Just get the building flowing going.
Well, it's amazing when those situations, when you get some sort of random inspiration, you pick up a piece and go, that'll work,
Exactly.
And I remember one of my favorite comedians, John Cleese, he would say whenever he would go to write something, and he would spend, he would allocate an hour of creative time. He would spend half an hour before that just doodling and just kind of, just drawing and just to get his brain into the gear of being creative.
Yep. You're just warming up the engine.
Totally. Yeah.
That's all it is. And I think that's a skill some people have to pick up. They have to learn on the show, unfortunately.
Now, on the show, you and Di talked about caviar and sparkles and stuff like that. Any other behind-the-scenes things besides those ones?
Oh, my goodness.
That you can recall?
I mean, there's so many. Obviously, I mentioned building a Technic truck and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that
My
happen.
favorite, I think my favorite moment was at the end of the last episode of the final, and you came into the green room, and you weren't Robin Sather, Judge Lego Master Martanga Pediki. You were just Robin Sather Athol, and you were just sitting down nerding out with a bunch of Lego geeks. And I thought that was that was the highlight of my Lego Masters, was that sitting down with you and just yarning for a few hours at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure's off, everything's done. So yeah, that was brilliant. And of course,
So because we weren't allowed
up
to
to that
talk to
point, we
you,
had
of
to keep our
course.
distance. Yeah, so we had to keep a bit of professional distance and whatnot. But yeah, it was great. You
But
guys are all
that was for
fantastic.
story and privacy, and kind of didn't want to let any cats out of the bag or anything like that, right?
Absolutely. Something could have been said. The other thing is, of course, the show is incredibly concerned about fairness and equal opportunity and all that sort of stuff. So, if I happen to chat with you a little bit, if I don't chat to somebody else,
Yeah,
did
yeah.
I explain
Favoritism.
something? Did I give you some
Yeah.
benefit or advantage? We couldn't have anything like that. So it had to better
I
be all or
remember
nothing.
one of my first memories was actually walking onto the set the first day, because I remember we'd get ready in the green room, and then we'd be escorted by Kate from one place to the other. And the very first time we walked around the corner, and there's a bunch of Lego boxes there. And I remember, what did you have written on them? Monorail parts.
Yeah,
So that you had
monorail
this. I was just like,
challenge.
oh, here we go. Okay, we get what's happening here. Thanks, Robin.
Yeah, and then the last, I
Brilliant.
think, what monorail challenge, AI
Yep,
robotics.
yep.
Yeah, Harry Potter challenge. Yeah, and then on the end it was like, yeah, sorry teams, gotcha kind of thing on the last box.
But then actually turning up on set and being behind the roller doors, and then the smoke and everything else, and then the door comes up, and I just remember turning to Dan and just saying, pinch me. It was surreal. The word is surreal. It's like, the set was amazing, and it did look like I was on set going, this looks just like it does on telly. But like,
100%.
yeah, it was a mind blow. It really
They did
was.
such an amazing job with that set and the brick pit too. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I got to try my first custard square,
Oh,
on
wow.
that was season 2.
Nice.
What else did I get to do? Ride my one wheel in season 2. Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories working with the art department, Alex and the art department, to do all these weird and wonderful things,
Alex was
testing
amazing.
testing testing the
Alex was
cricket,
a legend.
the cricket bowling machine,
Yep.
testing,
Yep.
smashing stuff up with that.
Trent,
I mean,
wasn't it? Trent, the bowling machine?
Trent, the
Was.
bowling machine. Yes, skinned in Duplo. Yeah, yeah.
So obviously Lego has had a large impact on your life. Can you tell us more about becoming the first Lego certified professional?
Well, back in the dark ages, I mean the dim ages, 2000, my wife and I had just gone around on a year-long backpacking trip, just trying to figure ourselves out. I was an IT guy, and I was burning out. Basically, I was burnt out. The money was good, but it was just mind-numbing, boring, and it was just tough to do. I would acting and singing and playing music and stuff on the side to have the creative outlet, but I just hated going to work, basically. So coming back from traveling, it was like, okay, what's important? And one of the things that came out of that was, you know what? I just don't want to do the IT anymore. I want to do something that I love to do, and that's, for me, one of the options was doing something with Lego bricks. So at that time, there was no real connection with the Lego company. It was a bit of Willy Wonka situation where just this magic company, this factory, and cool stuff would come out onto the shelves. You had no idea how it worked. There was a few things that happened, like the LUT program with
Mm,
Mindstorms, and some of the
mm.
train stuff that the guys were doing, creating my own trains and stuff like that. So there was a few little community interactions, but there wasn't much going on, and certainly nothing on a professional level. Coming back, this is around the turn of the millennium. The first thing I did was start looking for people like me, and of course found a lot of them in Vancouver. So we started a club and we started to do events. So just seeing if a mall would let us set up a display, or going to a model railroad show. So we would go do this stuff as a club. I totally volunteer, and I would often be involved with setting up the layouts and stuff like that. So we would go there, and people would be lined up out of a shopping mall just to
Mm,
see this thing. And it
mm.
finally occurred to me, I thought, you know what? They'd pay for this. They'd pay for this kind of foot traffic.
Yeah.
And so, with a couple of buddies, Lego buddies, we did a few proof of concept things, which worked perfectly well. and they made money. So I actually wrote up a white paper and pitched it to Lego saying, look, here's what you could do. You could take these people who are already doing this kind of professional quality work. You can let them badge themselves with a flavor of Lego. So you get lots of promotion. You can vet them, make sure they're not creating, inappropriate models and they're not doing anything. They're all set to work with kids and all this stuff, all the vetting you want to do. And it's a win-win situation. The public gets cool Lego, you get promotion, and a cool Lego guy gets a career. And I pitched this in 2004. And as you know, Lego company in 2003, 2004 was really hurting. They were losing billions of crowns a year and were desperate for new revenue streams and just new ideas. And so it was the perfect timing. They said, let's do this. So I actually had pitched it as the ambassador program for the communicating with the community more. And then the ambassador pro is what I called it. So that became the LCP side, the Lego Certified Professional angle. And ambassadors is still around. So it's now the LAN, right? I pitched both of them at the same time, and they loved it. And so, of course, I grandfathered myself in as number one.
Yep.
3 more Americans that I knew were doing work, and it was the 4 of us. So that was this year. It'll be 20 years.
Wow.
It was 2005 that we got the LCP program off its.
So it's pretty safe to say that without the LCP program, there may not have been a LEGO Masters.
It would certainly be different. Yeah, it would have happened differently for sure. I mean,
right.
The original one in the UK, happened completely aside from the LCP program. Certainly, with Matt Ashton and the crew there, and Tuesday's Child and stuff. The UK one would have probably still happened in some form. But I mean, before that show happened, I'd been talking to Discovery Network here in Canada and the US, and we'd been cooking up essentially the same show.
Okay.
But there just wasn't a perceived market for it. So it really took that first show, even though it's very different from the way LEGO Masters is now, it took that first show to kind of prove that there was something there. And then, of course, it went to Australia, and the producers of MasterChef, they said, well, let's just do a Lego version. So it's essentially the same show, right down to the set design and everything, but just Lego, right? So, and that, of course, has become the gold standard of what you've seen it for most of the LEGO Masters productions all over the world. But that's how the whole thing started, and that was my journey in the middle of it all.
Wonderful. So what role do you think LEGO plays in fostering creativity and problem solving?
It's not related.
Not related at all?
No. It's all coincidence.
How come the Danes have the best scores in school?
Exactly. Well, obviously, if you talk to an engineer, an architect, an artist, all of them have had huge Lego component in their childhood. Everyone, like there's almost across the board. If they had exposure to Lego, they were involved with Lego, and it spoke to whatever their passion ended up being. It is an incredible tool for creativity, and not just creativity, but practical creativity. So usable creativity. That's what you need on LEGO Masters and building with Lego bricks in general. It's great to have great ideas floating around and whiz banging everywhere, but if you can't channel it into something that you can produce, a song, a sculpture, a screenplay, a Lego creation, then it's not of much use. It might give you some joy in your cerebral joy, but you need to be able to execute it. And Lego is the perfect thing to do that because it's easy to create with. It's a limited palette and it's a limited way of connecting, almost near infinite, but you can iterate. The key thing is you can iterate. So it's very unique in that sense. If you're going to sculpt something, once you've chipped away that rock, you can't go back. You got to start over again.
Well, it's kind of
Lego's like that.
I liken it. I was talking to a musician the other day, and I think music is very similar to Lego in construction because it's iterative and innovative, and it's kind of you grow it and Whereas, like you say, and this is what I remember because I've been doing a little bit of Māori art, and I talked to one of the Māori designers, and I said, your process is quite opposite to mine. He goes, how so? I said, well, you take a piece of wood and you cut away everything that isn't it. Whereas I take nothing and I put the stuff there that's supposed to be. It's like the opposite way around,
Yeah. Additive. I'm a synthesizer guy,
And
so it's additive
yes,
synthesis versus subtractive synthesis.
yes, entropy versus entropy.
Oh, nice.
So, have you noticed any positive effects on your mental health from engaging with Lego?
I suppose. On the other hand, it's my profession and my career, so all of that angst and all of those pressures and all of those
Yes,
sorts of things are
yes, yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
greatest
Tell
things.
me about it.
So for me, it's a double-edged sword. But honestly, I'd experience all of the negative things at any job, at any
Well,
career.
yeah,
So at least I have the positive aspects of Lego and what Lego brings to people. And especially my favorite thing is interacting with the public and doing public events. So I get all that Lego love and Lego joy
yeah,
from the things that I'm part of, which is a huge, huge, huge payoff. So
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
you love what you
overall,
do, and you
it's a
never
very
work another day
positive
in your
thing.
life.
Exactly. It's nothing new. It's not rocket science.
No, and just touching on something you said there, the Lego love. That's the one thing I do love about Lego is that I mean, I was in the Dunedin Brick Show, and we happened to have a small weather event, nothing like the one we had in Gisborne, of course, but
Yeah.
it was everybody came in kind of, a bit kind of like startled or concerned about the weather. But by the time they'd kind of spent an hour or so walking around the tables, they were all smiling and giggling and laughing. And some of the kids were screaming because they didn't get the Lego they wanted. But
Right.
apart from that, everybody was having an absolute ball, and they kind of forgot all the serious stuff that had been going on previously.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's the power of it,
yeah.
and it could be a number of other things. Lego's not exclusive in that regard,
No.
but the fact of the matter is that it is very much that it brings joy, it communicates joy, it's cross generational. You've got grandparents and
Yeah.
toddlers enjoying the same thing, and it's phenomenal. It's not a 100% unique, but it's special. It's still very special.
So you said you're doing it for work. Are you still use it to unwind? Like, so you still just get the occasional set and just sit there and kind of just
Yeah,
build?
yeah. For
Do you like the
me,
three in
that's
ones?
yeah, exactly. A lot of different ones. I mean, for me, it's 100% is the Lego relaxation for me is to take a set and build it. And I savor it. I build it slowly. I never
Yeah.
look ahead.
Yeah.
I actually take the box and put it away so I don't try and
Okay.
figure out
Yep.
what I'm building. So I
Yep.
want the surprise of turning the page. I also often know the designer. So it's
Okay.
really cool to see, like, oh, yeah, Kevin came up with this. That's a really clever idea.
Mm, that's cool.
And so that's always fun. Um, yeah, the one big downside, and I knew this would happen, but I don't do a lot of just free building, mock building for me. So I have a long list of things that I plan to build and I want to build. When I do retire professionally, I will go back to being a Lego loving adult and just building things that I really want to build. But I just find it hard to compartmentalize and spend hours and hours building something when I could be working, doing something for the job side of it. So for me, yeah, it's taking a set and slowly building it. The last one I did was the Batmobile, the '66 Batmobile, which is
Cool. That's
what a
cool.
set. I mean, that's
I
phenomenal,
haven't
and
built that yet, but I'm
it
keen.
is great. It is a really, really lovely build. So
I'll have to
sitting
put
on
that
my
one on my
coffee
list as
table.
well. Thank you, Robin.
You know what?
Another set to buy.
Very inexpensive set, relatively speaking. Certainly
Yes.
the joy, pennies per joy factor
Pennies
on
per
that
brick. Oh
set,
yeah, yeah. Okay.
massive, massive.
Nice. Yeah. Is that the nostalgia, do you think?
A lot of it is that really it is a beautiful model. I mean, it's sitting on my
Mm.
coffee table from every angle, and the way they did all the curvatures,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's really well done. I mean, there's things you'll be building, like I mentioned before. There's things you'll be building on that set. You have no idea what you're actually building until you flip the page and go, oh, that's what that is going to be.
Man, now
And
you
it's
got me
that
keen.
you get page after page of these lovely little revelations as you build something. So yeah.
So so I'd imagine in the position you are, people come up to you and say, "How do I become a Lego master?" What
All the
advice do you
time.
give people? What advice do you give them?
It depends how old they are. So for kids, I'd say just keep doing what you're doing. Be creative, be bold, try new things, iterate. Everything's instant gratification these days. So, somebody pops up an Instagram reel, and it's just in 20 seconds you have this perfect thing that happens. It's never like that. Even that reel took, 5 hours to actually generate, right? And multiple takes and cutting and editing and captions and a million things. So kids, it can get frustrated. when they try and build a dog and their first version is just useless. They hate it. But they like the way they did the nose. So I say, keep the nose and just do it again. Keep the whole thing if you have the bricks, and then start a whole new one and have 5 or 6 dogs, and then begin to. So this idea of iteration is a big deal. So I tell kids about that. If they're a little older, I say, look, now you think about your education and also keeping creative. As you get, in your mid-teens, you start to, all those things you used to do all the time, sketching, singing, drawing, writing little tunes, acting in school, plays, all that stuff starts to go away. And I always get the parents at this point just nodding, going, yep, that's true. Hit 25 and I was doing nothing creative. That's the thing. You got to keep it going. You got to keep it going right into your 20s. Education-wise, it seems like the thing that LEGO seems to hire, as far as working for LEGO, is industrial design. So I often tell people that's a tack that if you're looking for post-secondary education tracks that would be conducive to LEGO, have a look at industrial design. It's a perfect mix of engineering and art, and it's definitely a track that the LEGO company will hire from for various roles. So, yeah, that's kind of what I tell people.
Have you used LEGO in any educational settings or workshops?
Yeah, I mean that's part of what I do. So school groups, creativity workshops. Yeah, absolutely. It's the best medium. So that's a no-brainer. But I'm getting paid for it, so fair enough.
What's been the response from the participants?
Oh, they love it. Yeah, I mean, the whatever courses I do, if it's a school, they'll, I'll often have every class come through. I'll stay the whole day at a school, and every class will come to and we'll do something together, and they all look forward to it. If it's a seminar or workshops I'm doing in conjunction with an event, they sell out. They book up in minutes, so everyone is just game to do it. Did some at Halloween last year, and it clearly aimed at kids. But in every single, I did 3 of them, and in every single one, there was adults that had signed up, which I thought was fantastic. And they just had a good time, and they just played. They played. And I really have a great respect for adults who play, not compete. That's different, and that's great and everything, to play sports and stuff, but play for no other reason than just to laugh and play together.
Well, I was reading something the other day that suggested that the human brain will learn better if you're playing, and it's more likely to retain the information and be able to apply it usefully. Which
it makes sense.
It does. And then you see humans running around trying to solve problems in a stressed state and wondering why they don't seem to be getting the answers they want. So what are your future projects with LEGO? You got anything cool in the pipeline that you're allowed to talk about?
With LEGO, there is a couple things that I can't talk about, but for me, it's actually stripping away some of the stuff that I don't like as much and going back to things that I really enjoy doing. So for me, the thing is that my favorite things to do are public build events. So that's usually building some big creation in a public venue and chatting with people and then having it on display for a time. That's what I love to do. That's my favorite thing. So I've been kind of foregoing, school training, school courses and commission builds and things like that. I've been kind of hiving those off a little bit and then going really for the public events, because that really is my favorite thing. I'm really bad at estimating for commissions, so I almost always get it wrong. It's
tricky.
I mean,
it's
20 years of experience. It's very difficult. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of building under pressure. And so when you've allocated 60 hours to a build and you're at 40 and you've barely got anything, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my shirt on this thing. So you get this pressure. I don't want that. I want to have fun doing this thing. And I don't have to do that stuff. So I can just do the stuff that I love to do. So new things is just more of the same. More of the same. Yep, and I really love making the little gift models.
Oh, yeah.
Do I have one here? The latest one? It's not together, but this was the latest. This little plane.
Oh, yep. Very cool.
Yeah. So, designing that was great fun. And
how did you get on with the instructions?
I use Studio usually to do the instructions. I don't actually use the whole Studio. I use Studio to make the renders, and then I actually put them in Photoshop and create my own actual instructions there.
Wow.
Mostly because I'm often doing these things on a budget. So they're fundraising, their gift models is usually how I have to do them.
Yep.
And so they don't want to spend $20 on a model, they want to spend 5. So that
Yeah.
probably means it's going to be packed in a baggie, and the instructions, instead of being a booklet, will be 2 pages, right? Or
Yeah.
4 pages. It's very much back to the 80s style of instructions. There's no insets showing the pieces you need. You have to actually think a little bit to see the different bricks. I'll outline them maybe for you, but yeah. Anyways, so I have great fun doing the instructions too, and then I hand them off and usually hand them to Diane, my wife, and she's my 7-year-old builder. So I watch her build the sets, and if she stumbles or she pauses or she even makes a mistake, I'm taking notes, and then I'm changing up the instructions.
Right.
It's great fun. I enjoy every aspect of doing the little kits.
Oh, nice. And how do you see the future of Lego? I mean, I suppose you probably know a little bit about the future of Lego.
Exactly. I know some of the things,
so
but
you probably can't give away too much.
I have to say, I mean, seeing how successful the company has been of late with the icons and the botanicals and stuff, the adult market.
Oh, yeah.
I know that even looking at the financial reports from the company, which they share, and seeing how much the adult market has impacted the sales of the company.
Wonderful.
The temptation, of course, is to pare down what's happening with children's Lego.
Oh, they can't do
and
that.
Ramp up with the lucrative Lego, the big sets.
Yeah.
People are spending $400, $500, $600, $700 on a set. Big margins there. It's tempting on a company basis, but I'm very happy to see, and I've asked a few of the executives and said, look, is this a thing? No, it's not. They will always, they're committed to making sure this is that they're speaking to children, and that they're giving children an opportunity to enjoy the pride of building and the joy of building, the pride of creation. So I really am pleased to see that, but I do see massive expansion with new ideas, new models, new flavors of LEGO Masters. I see new media and things like that coming up and being developed. So yeah, if you get a chance of seeing LEGO Masters Japan, check that out.
Yes.
The recent European productions of LEGO Masters Out of the Box.
Okay.
Try and find that. So that's LEGO Master. Imagine a mobile brick pit and building on location and traveling to a different spot every week. That's LEGO Masters Out of the Box, which has happened in a couple of countries now.
That's cool.
Extremely cool. Yeah. So those are all new things, and they're expanding on what's already been done, but they're taking it in new and fun directions, which I'm just all over. I think it's great.
Would you ever consider returning to LEGO Masters?
100%. Yes.
Would you return as a contestant?
I probably would. I'd be ineligible to go like a regular contestant, but I tell you, I'll go on record.
The Christmas specials.
100%. I'll go on record saying that if there was a Christmas special, or if there was a judges special.
Yep. Oh,
so you get Brickman and I building against each other.
Oh, that would be great.
Or
the LEGO Masters judges off. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Get Jamie and Amy and Ryan and I building against each other.
And then you could get LEGO Masters contestants to come and judge them for you.
Exactly. I would be all over that. If a production company or a broadcaster in New Zealand called me tomorrow and said we want to commission LEGO Masters New Zealand season 3, I'm on the next plane. 100%.
A couple more questions before you go. Thank you so much for your time. One of the things that I remember you saying in the green room that last day was that when the first email came through about LEGO Masters New Zealand, you thought it was a joke. You thought someone was pulling your leg.
And not only someone, I thought it was Brickman. I thought it was my buddy Ryan.
But it was Brick. We thought Ryan.
I thought it was Ryan. I thought he was spoofed an email and just trolling me with this.
Did you hit him up about it?
100% thought that. And I didn't even reply to the email for 3 days.
Wow.
I thought, I better have a look at this email, because I still had the IT thing, so I could dig down into the email, look at the code and stuff, and thought, boy, if he faked this, it's really good. So I better reply. And if he's gonna send me, he's gonna rickroll me or something, then okay, I'll take it. But if there's a chance that this is real, I better reply. And of course, it was real.
I'm glad you did.
I'm glad I did as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so going back to saying you got a list of things that you'd like to build. So if you had the brick pit in front of you and you had all the time in the world and you're like, there you go, Robin, you can build whatever your heart's desire. What would you build first?
And I still want to build this, and I want to probably do it ideally in my career. I'd like to do it in Duplo.
Okay.
And what I would love to do, picture a knight's castle or a fortified tower with a attached house and stuff. I want to
Yeah.
make a life-size one. That's what I want to make. Like a tower you can go up in, a house you can go inside, a life-size, essentially little fortified castle tower. That's
Wow.
what I desperately want to build. So if anybody
That's a
has
lot of
any
bricks.
patrons, a lot of bricks.
That's a lot of bricks.
Weeks and weeks of building.
Well, I mean, James May did it with the Lego house, right?
It's not, it's not,
So,
it's
I
not,
mean,
it's totally
it's not
doable.
impossible.
Yeah. And I've done
Yeah.
components. Like I did a
Yeah.
castle wall for an event here a few years ago, and it was a life-size castle wall with a door. And
Wow.
I just got to do more of that.
Well,
More
we could
time.
just copy the girls' art studio technique, but instead of using Lego bricks, do Duplo bricks and just do big brick, and then that
It's
would
totally
work.
Doable.
Totally.
Yep.
We just
We
need
have
a lot of
access
bricks.
to those Lego factories. I just need a venue and a patron and a reason to do it.
Well, there you go. If anybody out there would like to see this happen and they've got a huge amount of money or a huge pile of bricks, then let us know.
Let's do it. I'm in.
Put a like and a subscribe on the channel.
Absolutely. I am so in.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Robin. It's been an absolute pleasure. I would really like to go back and do Lego Masters again, if ever I got the opportunity.
I hope it happens.
In fact, we got asked, Dan and I, because there was some COVID in the second season, running through the second season, and I got a phone call 5-6 weeks after the first show. I think Dan got a phone call first, and he said, "You better ask Jono." And then, but then I think Kate was halfway through saying, "Did I want to?" And I'd already said yes. I was like, yes. Okay, it's been 5 weeks. I've had a bit of a time to calm down. And yes, it was highly traumatic. And yes, it was blood, sweat, and tears. But yes, I'd absolutely love to do it again.
Yep, we did. We did lose a couple of weeks in there.
Yeah.
An already tight schedule, a couple of weeks to COVID in the second season. But thankfully, we made it work. Yeah, the last 10 days of that season, the amount of work and the long hours that everybody had to put in to try and catch up and to fit it all in was amazing. I mean, I'm just in awe of the teams and the crew. So yeah.
Just on that, a lot of people ask me how I was able to be a Lego master, and I think the number one reason is I had Dan, and I had a full crew. Like we had the brick monkeys. I mean, the brick minions, the delightful folks that were running out back and cleaning our tables and cleaning the spills off the floor and resorting the bricks whenever we needed them.
Delivering special packages of the bricks you wanted in the bins and things like that.
I mean, trying to recreate. I mean, that was the beauty of it. We got fed, clothed, watered, driven, everything. The only job we had was to build Lego, and it was like just problem solving all day, every day, problem solving with bricks, and you didn't have to think about anything else. And so it really made it really easy to be a Lego master because everything else was taken care of.
It's wonderful when you get the opportunity to have that just narrow focus. You put all your energies into that. So
wouldn't have been possible without Alex and her partner to bring the show to New Zealand, and the amount of work those guys did to get those effects. And of course, the three guys that were working, Colin, JP,
and Mark,
were working behind the scenes for ages to get the beautiful models that we were inspired by. We walk in and we see their models and go, oh, wow, we're going to have to up our game, guys. No,
but they had a month and a half.
They had so much time.
Right?
Yeah, they had no pressure.
Not 12 hours. So,
but I think my favorite little comment, I guess, was that I found out that the producer and the director had regularly been taking really some of the cooler models off the floor and putting them up on their desk.
All around the offices, there was bits and pieces of models.
That's fantastic.
Everywhere. Yeah, and some of them made it. Some of them went off-site to the production offices off-site, and also the directors. Yeah, not to mention what disappeared from the brick pit.
I know nothing about that. I know nothing about.
We started out with 200 sheep. We had 3 at the end. So
I think they were liberated. I think
someone left the fence open somewhere.
Yeah,
there was a gate open somewhere.
New Zealand, right?
No more elephants left. It had 20 to start. I think there was none.
Someone took a fence, right?
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, it's a good thing. The way things worked out, it's a good thing you did, to be honest. So I'm glad that they found good homes to appreciative parents.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Robert. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to having you back on the show.
Yeah, anytime. Let's do it.
Thank you, mate. Until then, grab life by the bricks. All right. Where's me button gone?